Hello, I'm Emmanuel Kenning, Content Editor of Insurance Age, and welcome to our new video and podcast series, Double Indemnity. Across 3 shows, industry stalwarts Jane Kielty, Aon UK CEO, Mike Keating, CEO of the MGAA, and Adrian Gilbert, Managing Director of SX3 Claims, will be joining hosts Stuart Reid and Toby Clegg to share business useful insights. Up first, we have Jane Kielty. In a more than 20-year career at Aon, she shares what's happened in the last 18 months, reflecting on how it's been in her current role. She also looks at the value of brands for brokers of all size and how to promote the industry to potential new joiners. Jane gives insight from her work at Biber, including on regulation. We hope that you find great value in the conversations and that you enjoy the series. On with the show.
Welcome to the first in a series of podcasts called Double Indemnity. I'm Toby Clegg, and this is my co-host Stuart Reid.
Morning.
And today our guest is, I'm going to let you introduce.
Jane Kielty, head of Aon. Jane, could you just explain to us what your role is and sort of what regions you look after, what you do?
Absolutely, yes, and I'm very honoured first. This is fantastic. So I'm the CEO for Aon in the UK. I also have responsibility for Ireland and South Africa. Reasonably big job, but I've been at Aon for a long time. Other roles though, you also know probably that I am the Deputy Chair of Biber, the British Insurance Brokers Association, and I also run and chair their Professional Standards Committee for broking. Other roles, mum of 2, wife to lovely husbands, daughter to lovely parents, all of those other more important things as well in life.
So quite a big remit. People are going to ask the question just on South Africa. What is the South Africa?
Yeah, that's a really odd one. Just thrown in there with Ireland and South Africa.
Well, there's lots of logic to that. Can't you see the logic?
Yeah.
Time zones, absolutely. They place a lot of business into the London market. South African market sort of operates very, very similarly to UK and Ireland as well. Language. All of those things. So
And it's a beautiful place to go.
And a beautiful place to go, yeah, and it's a fantastic business.
And just to give some idea of scale, how many employees are you?
Probably about 7,000 across my patch.
That's a tremendous
Bit
amount.
more than us.
I never got to the heady heights of 7,000. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And you've been in the role now probably much longer than I think. How long have you been in that role?
I think we might be just past 18 months.
Is it really already?
Yes, yeah.
Wow. And you're enjoying it?
I love it, absolutely love it, yeah. It's the first 18 months been lots and lots to do, but it's a massive honour and yeah, very, very proud to be the CEO of Aon in the UK.
And has it been as you would have expected it to be? Has it been as you thought it would be, or has there been a lot of different challenges coming from different areas that you didn't expect?
Well, it was a great opportunity for me because I was able to build my own team, but that in itself is, it's usually a one-off kind of event. Our previous CEO, Julie Page, is now the CEO of EMEA, and as she moved into that EMEA role, there's some fantastic opportunities for UK colleagues, which meant that I was able to replace my old role and all of that kind of stuff. So spent the first 18 months, and actually we did an acquisition in that period as well. So quite a lot going on really in the first 18 months.
So obviously the broking market is very large, obviously a bit smaller because of all the M&A, but a lot of our listeners obviously from the broking community, and you're at the very pinnacle of that pyramid. Because obviously Aon is huge, and what is it like running a team of that size? And in a way, do you become more of an exec and you step away from the kind of day-to-day insurance work, or do you still get a kind of exposure to, especially the London market side when you're here, and the different, obviously, parts of the regions throughout the UK? I mean, how do you segment that time? And
Yep, great question. I love clients and new business. So I think as a CEO, I think you can actually work out where your superpowers are and have brilliant people around you, because it is a team game. You say sort of being the CEO, it's actually you've got brilliant finance guy and a brilliant ops person and a brilliant. So actually, I say that I choose to spend my time. I'm quite deliberate about how I spend my time, And I would definitely say clients, new business and people, they are probably my superpowers. And I can turn my hand to lots and lots of other things and do that as well. But no, I still get a massive thrill from winning, from being involved with our teams sort of on the ground. And actually, I think it helps you. Being involved day to day with clients really helps you make good decisions as a CEO, because you can see exactly, is our client experience brilliant? What are the challenges that our clients are facing? What are the capabilities and things that we need to give our teams to help them to solve our clients' problems?
Yeah, I think that how people put it is it keeps you honest, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It shows you what you need to do. I guess the big differentiator, seeing it from outside, is that Aon, fantastic brand, big brand, the brand is something that from outside we think helps you greatly to win and retain business, whereas those smaller brokers, they may have a local brand, but it's not known to those that they go and see to try and win new business. Do you feel that your brand is a great helper in winning and retaining business?
Yeah, enormously, absolutely, and I recognise that that's a great advantage for us.
Yeah.
It's
tremendously irritating.
Having said that, though, I still, you look at the different segments, sizes of clients, and you look at some of the smaller brokers that really sort of play in their local community, and they superpowers in the places where they operate, and they have a proposition and I think we have those different propositions, but I still think smaller brokers can have a big impact in the spaces that they play.
Hence you have acquired and I guess are hungry for more. I don't know. Is
Absolutely.
That the case?
And we look at things like the Griffiths Armour brand, Griffiths Armour being the acquisition that we made. We deliberately bought the business knowing that we wanted to keep that brand because it's synonymous with quality, it's synonymous with a level of expertise, especially in certain areas like consulting engineers, architects, PI. They've really got some brilliant specialism, so it's very complementary. But the Aon brand is very, very powerful.
Though there are limits to that. I mean, one of my favourite things is looking at like the Manchester United sponsorship. And I still find it funny where you listen to obviously the supporters and stuff, and they see Aon branded everywhere, or did, I should say. And of course, they still think it's an energy company. In the same way that I think David Howdenbrough has to, I don't think he said this, has to explain that he's not actually selling kitchens. He's selling insurance, right? I mean, the Manchester United connection, not that we want to delve too far into football, but it's quite funny in a way, because I mean, did you actually take advantage of that? I mean, did it help with client retention? I mean, was that I assume you had access to players and everyone else? Okay,
for the United sponsorship globally was massive, especially when you look at Asia and so from a brand impact point of view, it was fabulous for us. But when you got to the UK, because it's like football, it's tribal. So I would say, did it help us? Some clients be literally, if we had some kind of Manchester United thing and they're a Manchester City fan, you literally go, I am not coming to your offices because you've got Ryan Giggs painted on your boardroom wall, and we'd be going. But for me, I'm from Manchester, so that is, it was great. I was also at the time, I think that we did the sponsorship, I was running a part of the North region, including Manchester. So yes, we got a lot of benefits from the things you get with the sponsorship, and some of those would be like tickets and nice, lovely experiences for clients. But I'll tell you, my family are huge Reds. I am not a massive football fan generally anyway, but my family are all big United fans, and I had I'm going to say Boxing Day, it's really hard to get clients along to a match on Boxing Day, so I would get lovely little perks where I could take my family along, and you'd find them watching the football, and you'd find me reading my book in the lounge, drinking a little glass of champagne.
I mean, that's amazing. I mean, Man U, this season you could forgive it, perhaps.
Maybe
last season as well.
Got a few seasons.
Actually, to be fair. What were you reading, incidentally?
Oh, it would have been something with a pastel cover with a stiletto heel and a handbag, something really brain-numbing.
Like his normal fiction, like Rivals, Jilly Cooper. That's your kind of thing, isn't it?
Exactly that kind of thing, yes.
And your career with Aon has been different to many in that, people tend to sort of hop around and get promotion by doing so or whatever, but you're quite a long stare, aren't you? You've
Yeah.
been at Aon how long is
20 years. Yes.
Wow.
So yeah, and I think, you know what, I think that's really stood me in good stead as well for the role that I have now as well. So you know, how did I become the CEO in 20 years? Just one job at a time, I would say.
Yeah.
So and that's just always been willing to take on like whatever I was asked to do, really. And I think having started my career in Manchester and spending most of my career outside of London, really, or with sort of national roles, that you sort of become a bit of everything. So it teaches you well to be a CEO. So you sort of, you know, probably in an office in Manchester, you're your own head of sales, you're your own head of finance, you're your own head of HR. Of course, you've got the resources, but most of them some of them are central. So, and then you become expert in lots of different industries, lots of different lines of business. So you actually start to develop a really wide kind of experience that I think is very, very helpful in the CEO role.
And you were recognised early, weren't you? Am I right in thinking BIBA? Were you a BIBA Young Achiever or something?
The inaugural
Oh.
Young Broker of the Year.
Stu's still hoping to win that.
Many, many years ago now, and now I've managed to get myself the job of presenting the new Young Broker of the Year every year at the BIBA conference with the award. But yeah, I think when they first decided to do it, I was the first winner. So that was a long time ago.
And with the role, I was deputy chair or whatever it is at BIBA 2, which is a fascinating role, I think. But you're a great advocate for BIBA. It does actually matter. You know, what they do is very important. Is that fair?
Yes, and they're fantastic. And you know, a lot of the member firms, as you will know, Stuart, they're very small firms, and BIBA offer, I think, a huge infrastructure to help them. So whether that's lobbying government, you know, with the manifesto that BIBA put together is really fantastic to try and help brokers.
I think Graham's doing a wonderful job, isn't he?
He's fabulous. I think he's absolutely brilliant.
That's Graham Truggle, who's the CEO.
It's interesting with the kind of scale, talking about the scale of brokers, because I mean, I was with some earlier this week, and one of them in particular, it just stuck out my head. He's just a one-man band with 17 clients, and you think, oh my God, there must be some quite pokey clients, and indeed they are, but sticks very much to his niche. And it's not that he runs scared of regulation, but he's very conscious of it, even with those 17 clients. And I guess there is still a sense that the big boys, girls of the industry, like Aon, have it easier in a way, because of course you've got more resources to actually to fulfil the consumer duty needs and everything else, whereas it weighs quite heavily on him, I think. What would be your message to them, having sat obviously representing the industry on BIBA as well as just doing your Aon role? I mean, I said to him, from even my perspective, that actually people do a cracking job on things like that. But equally from a personal perspective, you've engaged a lot with the FCA and everything else. I mean, what's your message to them as smaller brokers?
Well, BIBA are working really hard to try to get the amount of new regulation or consultations or submissions and returns that brokers have to do to try to really reduce that as much as possible. I think I remember one year Steve White piled up, he printed off every single FCA consultation that had come out during the course of that year, that any small broker technically, if they were doing it, or doing it all, would have to read and understand and think about. And I think the pile of paper was taller than Steve White when he piled it up. So I think BIBA are doing a great job. The relationship between BIBA now and the FCA is really good. I mean, the FCA are joining BIBA on regional roadshows. They're going out to hear what the challenges are, which bits that they can simplify, and they're really taking on board. They have a responsibility for competitiveness, in other words, to try and help us to be more competitive in the UK with all the countries around the world, etc., etc. And because I have got UK, Ireland, South Africa, I can see the difference in the regulation in those countries, and actually I'm part of a team, an EMEA team within Aon, and it is actually unbelievable. I think for Aon we had something like 250 odd returns that we had to do last year for the FCA, whereas I think our Irish operation had less than 100. So you can actually measure it like that, and we do have a lot of people employed in Aon who are brilliant, who do a lot of this stuff for us. But equally, as one of the biggest companies, broking companies in the market, we have a different level of regulation as well. So in other words, like there's a lot more scrutiny. We have a lot of individual one-to-one.
Bigger is higher risk is what they say.
Bigger is higher risk because we have the potential, if we get something wrong, to damage the reputation. And of course, we want to aim for standards up here, but it doesn't change the amount of work and the engagement, and it's all very positive. And often there are things, they talk about trickle down. There are things that they think that as the large firms that we could do to help the smaller firms and to influence the smaller firms, and so they're looking for us to try and do that and to try and help the industry.
Yeah, there's a couple of points I'd say on that. One, I do not want to get into your strategy and what you've been up to, but you and I have been to various conferences and discussions and things. I know that the weight of regulation has very much steered your strategy as to how you deal with matters. I don't want to go into that. But I do feel that one of the issues, having run a large broker, as you are now, very large broker, is that you do get your fellow employees looking dewy-eyed out the window at those smaller brokers, perceiving that regulation is a lot less of a burden than it is at say, Aon. And is that a challenge to you to try and not make the load of regulation much heavier to your employees than it is for those smaller brokers?
It's the reality, right? Because it is the reality, and I said
There's not much you can do about it.
No, and because we get a different level of scrutiny. I say this when we're talking maybe to acquisition targets, and they might say, what's going to be different? And I say, okay, well, we're a public listed company, so we're going to need to report, and we're going to need a level of governance, and then we have this different level than you would have done of scrutiny involvement with the FCA, and therefore we have to set ourselves up differently to be able to do that rightly. So you'll experience those things, those differences, and
it's not a choice.
It's not a bad thing, but it's not a choice. We have to do those things, and there's lots of other really positive things that come with being a big
brand,
big global. The brand, the career opportunities, the types of clients that we have the privilege to look after.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's a good picture for Aon. Got the jobs going. Interestingly, I mean, you look at the characters coming into it. I mean, we've spoken previously. It's very funny. You did the cruelest thing possible. You actually put your daughter into insurance. You actually managed to encourage her to do it. So you're doing your bit.
She'd hate you to say it like that.
All right, I shouldn't have said that.
No, encouraged her. I didn't put her into insurance. She did it completely on her own merit.
It's a Freudian slip because I got forced into it. So, although we're not supposed to say that anymore. We're talking about it being an industry you want a destination for people. But
yeah, we're keen not to do that.
That's it.
You fall into insurance.
That's it.
That's getting a bit passé, isn't it?
But I mean, obviously, you do a lot in that career space to move people forward, etc. And you're demonstrably successful for having been in somewhere for 20 years. Usually people want to run away from errors and things during that time. But you've actually stayed the course, which is amazing. Can you give people a bit of a flavour, especially those youngsters coming up in the broking world, who might look at the likes of Aon and say, I'm never going to reach the glitzy heights, as it were, to actually say there are opportunities out there, and some of the characters you met along the way, and kind of the fun you've had in your broking career. Yeah,
okay. Well, first of all, I'll tell you a little bit funny story about Lottie, who is my oldest daughter. And as you said, so she...
I apologise by Lottie. So.
Actually, so she saw Mum and Dad actually both having really good careers in insurance, and she decided completely of her own back, she applied for internships and had a fantastic internship with Willis Towers Watson.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah, in London. She really, really enjoyed it, to the extent that, if you're only there 8 weeks and she's getting up and going in at 7 o'clock in the morning, and some of the work she did, by the sounds of it, not that she could tell me much about it, but, they were actually using it. Was really valuable to them at the end.
Poaching Aon clients, perhaps?
Yes.
Well, that's the funny story. So they're like, she got it off her own back, and they say, we know who your mum is. When she got there, and can you make sure you pick a password for your laptop that is not a family password? You know how you all in the family use the same password, kind of thing. So, and that made me laugh.
How funny.
And now, and she's also brainwashed, so now if I have to say something branded an Aon jersey and it's cold or something, I say, oh, you can borrow this. No, not a chance. But going back to encouraging, what a fantastic career. We're doing some fantastic things to do exactly as you say. So we need to completely change the talk track. It's not like, nobody picks to be in insurance. Actually, thousands of people want to work in our profession now, and there's such a variety of roles. We took 1,000 kids this year, 1,000 last year, in for work experience into our offices, across 8 offices across the UK. Probably, I don't know, a fifth of our colleagues were involved in that and found that, you know, they themselves love doing it, inspiring the next generations to want to come and do what we do. But it's so varied, isn't it? And you know, that's what I've loved about my career, is that, you know, one day you might be looking after an engineering company, the next day a nuclear power station, the next day a airport, the next day a bakery, and you learn so much. And if you are curious and interested, you know, I'd be going down the pub when I was a graduate trainee going, do you know how they make fifth wheel couplings? That's the bit that attaches the cab to the lorry. And you know, I'd be telling people, because I was excited. I was like, and this is my first client and I'm really excited and this is what they do.
Yeah, I mean, it's from satellites to roller skates, we insure the lot, don't we? Which is fantastic. And knowing a little bit about you and the business, you also have made an effort to go to schools and colleges, haven't you? And to go and promote the industry there, which I think is a big thing. And I think the apprenticeship schemes, you know, it ebbs and flows as an industry, but I think as a way of bringing people in, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. They're so clever as well, the early careers, and the people that we see coming into, they're so switched on, and they've got different skills and different expectations, and I think we've all got to get to grips with that as well, because we need them and we need their different thinking as well. So, no, fantastic.
Well, yeah, I mean, my kids are a little bit older now, but certainly I perceive the employment situation in the UK as being pretty poor at the moment. You know, the opportunities out there aren't very good. I think it's a fantastic opportunity for us as an industry to go out and get these people. It's just somewhat frustrating. I think people don't necessarily think to come to us, so we've got to make more of the effort. That's why going to schools and colleges.
I do think they are starting to.
I do,
because I think so many of the early careers, people having such good experiences and you know,
feeding back.
Correct, and social media and, you know, all these types of things like podcasts. That the people are consuming information about careers really differently than maybe we used to. Just sort of, you know, there was maybe a tradition of like which careers did what, and so I think it's fantastic that
it's the fun, isn't it? It's the fun, and I guess hope you two have had a great time and enjoyed
probably
the career
too good a time.
Probably too good a time. But
I
also
think you're guilty of that as well.
Also, we were talking earlier about also being a people business.
Yeah.
You know, getting to know people and those interactions, and that has been the jewel in the crown, certainly for me. Yeah.
Agreed, completely agree. In fact, if you were looking at anything, I was thinking about that when we had our previous discussions, but if you're thinking about what are the skills that we need people to have, it's probably, and people worrying about AI and is it going to disrupt jobs and what does that mean? But actually, I think the truth is the most important thing is the relationship piece. Therefore, like, are we looking at things like emotional intelligence rather than academic ability when we're bringing people into our organisations?
Absolutely.
Let me tell you, my favourite TED Talk, and it's linked to that, is called The Pecking Order by Margaret Heffernan, and it's about super chickens. Anyway, I'm not going to say much more about it, but go away and watch it. But she talks in that about a test for emotional intelligence, which is a reading the mind in the eye test. And you basically get 4 slits, photographs of 4 sets of eyes, and then 1 set of eyes, and then you get 4 emotions that you have to pick, and you have to say what the emotion is in the eyes. And there's like 49 questions. Anyway, you should test yourselves when you get back to see how good you are at this. But this is the kind of stuff that relationships, people, you know, I think emotional intelligence is one of the most important things that's helped me anyway in my career.
Yeah, across the piece, I guess, you know, climbing that
because it becomes less, I mean, it is fair to say, and this isn't hopefully not an old comment, but it becomes less about technical insurance ability at certain levels, obviously, and more about the people leading, I guess. But equally, where your career is fascinating is, as you say, you've walked those hard steps of actually going from client relationships, as we all have done, and all worked on the counters at the start and gone through the different departments, claims, underwriting, everything else, broking. And you've actually gone there. So for especially youngsters listening, they say this is achievable, and you're very relatable. And actually, I mean, that message to them is that there is a pathway, isn't there,
Yeah.
to become the head of Aon? I mean, wow.
Just one job at a time.
Yeah.
You know, and
That's perhaps what we did wrong.
You did say, I heard you earlier, you did say, you know, accepting each challenge that was given me. And I think that's also, you know, sometimes you get a slight right turn. Yeah.
But make it
Correct.
work. But make it work.
So I had to say that my boss asked me to do a role that I would never have put myself in, and I said yes. And do you know what? It really helped me. That was actually the CCO role for Aon in the UK, but it was the first time that I had a role outside of just general insurance, and I had pensions and health and benefits.
Wow. Okay.
And so and it was a you know, growth strategies and growth and sales, and whilst I said I love new business, I would never have really put myself as a sales leader, but it was a great role, fantastic. And then back to your point again, career wise, and I said one job at a time. Oh my god, I once again in Aon I said yes again to a different role and absolutely hated it. It was awful. And that just shows you though, and I very quickly, 6 months I think I lasted in that role, but I was able to move into a different role in Aon, and it made me realise what I loved about, like, what it was about the job as well that was very important to me. And it was the people things in that role, in that particular role. I didn't have any people responsibility, whereas I had been running a part of Aon prior to that. So I had all the people, I had all the clients, and in this role it wasn't quite the same. So it was an important role for Aon, and it was just not the role for me. So
But it teaches you something, as you say, it teaches you something about yourself.
yeah, and that you know what, you can make career steps that aren't the right ones and still come back and go and do another different step, and you know, try everything.
I've noticed your eyes light up every time you talk about the acquisition you did. You're very proud of it. We both know that acquisition very well. Absolutely fantastic, specialist, PI, various other things. And the principals there are people that we've known for many years. Griffiths Armour, great business. So you obviously have hunger for more. Do you find that there's a lot of discussion at the moment that there's not much left, or they're very small? Is that a limiter to your
He might
ambition?
be trying to sell himself here. So this is
Weirder things have happened. But
Yeah, absolutely. I think you know, there haven't been, I don't think, as many startups, probably because of some of the things that you've said about regulation, or if they are starting up, they're probably getting bought up a little bit sooner than they might historically have have been bought. And then obviously the consolidators have already done a good job in the UK of
there's not much left in that middle market, is
no,
there?
but there still are some, and you know, you might see carve outs, you might see, there's lots of probably opportunities, and we are not a consolidator, we're a strategic buyer.
Are you?
We're not
Fascinating.
Yeah, so we're not rushing. We're looking for, you know, something that's complementary if we were looking for an acquisition.
What about the MGA space? And I genuinely don't know where Aon sits on that.
Yeah.
You've got a burgeoning MGA. Is that an area of
We
acquisition?
have a fantastic MGA actually already. So
Aon?
Aon Underwriting Managers, yeah. And they've got some brilliant specialist areas.
Because the MGA market is burgeoning at the moment,
huge,
right?
Well, there's more MGAs than there are brokers setting up.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, I think, I'll be honest with you, I think anyone who's entrepreneurial, and I'm not going to just say young as well, because that's one of those things, but anyone who's young, entrepreneurial and busting with energy and wants to break out of the constraints of an insurer, they're not just going to go and set up an insurance company unless they have a few $100 million and the patience to get a PRA license. So the MGA world is really the only way open to them. If they want to go down that underwriting route, it's the way forward. And I think it helps. You've got people like Mike Keating, the MGAA, that have made it easier to get into that world.
And do you think, though, that also insurers have got more appetite to?
I don't think they've got much choice.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't want to diss the insurers. They've been extremely supportive throughout my career and still play a massively important part. But
keep digging.
particularly in the areas for MGAs, the opportunities are great. You know, the service levels from MGAs, particularly in their specialty areas, is fundamentally better.
Yeah.
And insurance companies have a distinct choice they have a distinct choice about how they see their future. Is it to maintain what they're doing now, or is it to embrace those MGAs more? I mean, I think the opportunities for young people in the MGA arena are...
I'm glad you pointed at me as young. I like this.
Well, you're younger than me, but that's virtually 90% of people on the planet. I think the opportunities in MGA are much easier. I think the regulatory burden for brokers is quite heavy, as you were saying yourself.
Absolutely.
Whether you're small, medium, or large.
Actually, there's an interesting day in the life of, right? Do you ever get the chance to just see the fear in the eyes of the insurer given your market size? I mean, in the sense that we are like, we have to sit there and be very nice. I have to break out the good biscuits, the nice coffee, and be very nice to the insurers. It must be nice to be sat in Aon in the tower, and they've got to come and see you and know that you've got such market heft. They've got to be nice to you. Or am I just daydreaming? Are they still a pain in the ass?
Well, I think there's always a healthy friction between broker and insurer. I think that there should be kind of thing. We're trying to get the very best for our clients, as is everybody else. And we have a great relationship with the insurers, but we have Aon branded biscuits for them still.
See, that's where we've gone wrong.
Aon branded sweeties.
That's very flash.
It is flash, isn't it? She's got a Willis umbrella though. That's what
No.
You perceive that I'm not trying to hijack you here, but the service from insurers is as good as it's always been, or do you see
it really got to a low of a lows, didn't it, around COVID, during COVID?
I still think claims is pretty poor at the moment. It's a generalisation.
Yeah, I think the work Bieber did, because there was so much noise from brokers about insurer services having slipped, and Bieber did a baseline survey and then fed that information back to the insurers, so it was by insurer. And I think the reaction of nearly all the insurers, but especially some, has been really, really positive, and you definitely started to see improvements. But I'm sure there are still areas where people.
Yeah, I mean, certainly in the businesses I'm involved in, the service levels are still relatively. The way I look at it is that insurers have very much struggled with their service levels post-COVID because they haven't got people back to work as much as. So they struggle with that remote working, and let's not get involved in that discussion for goodness sake. But remote working can work very, very well. You've got to have the systems there. When you are literally hanging on the phone for 20 minutes waiting for someone to answer it, and that is happening now. So MGAs again, it's there to be taken.
I find it interesting. I mean, insurer service is one thing. This is why delegated authorities have always been traditionally so important, and that's when you mention obviously the MGA side. I suppose 90% of the work you do must be delegated, isn't it? Most of the power, or is it a daily interaction with insurers?
We would have some level of delegation in some of the client segments, but certainly the larger clients and the corporate clients would normally be open market placements. So, but we have some fantastic schemes facilities though, where like our Aon Client Treaty, which is just follow form capacity, which will follow sort of any lead and at a discounted price, which is just some fabulous stuff that we have been able to jointly create with insurers.
What's your favourite part of the job?
Ooh, favourite part of the job is
podcasts.
Favourite part of the job is definitely, I would say, the people stuff. Like, we've got an amazing team, but the client stuff and winning. I tell you about.
I like winning.
You talked about. I love winning.
That's a good comment.
I am quite competitive, and I know you.
You still support Man U, but still supports Man U.
Yeah. From afar.
Only by allegiance through my family. Yeah, I have to say I'm red because otherwise I'd be disowned. But winning. I'm going to tell you a funny story. You mentioned it before. You said about brand, and we hired a chap called Rob Vickerman, who was a rugby player, and he was thinking about when he finished his rugby career, what was he going to do, and we were trying to help people who were coming out of the armed forces or professional sports, and we thought it was a great talent pool, so he was working for us a day a week or whatever. But he was opening the doors, he was using his network to try and help us get in for new business in the north, and it was in the north. Picked him up from rugby one day, he had his deep heat, could smell his deep heat under his suit, and drove him off to Hull to go and see this family-owned massive food business. Very excited that we got in the door, and the family owner chairman, that's who we're seeing. I'm like, Rob and he do a bit of rugby, and then I'm thinking, right, we're going to get into a conversation about like what the challenges are, how we can help. And he went, God, I'm so glad you came, because we've not stopped having power outages in the factory. And so this is probably my best ever new business meeting. And he thought we were from Eon. And so I had to quickly try and like, how do I recover the situation without embarrassing? Talking about, oh yes, well, business interruption, and we're from Aon, and we can help you with how you, business continuity and
How funny.
so funny.
Yeah.
It was
All the
very
money in the world on branding, and it still comes back.
Well, look, we're coming to an end now. I know you have one.
Yeah, one of the things we're going to be asking our guests is to leave people with a thought. It doesn't necessarily have to be particularly controversial, but something that you've observed that might just get the old grey matter thinking in them.
Yeah. So, and I think it's only in the last few years of my career, maybe even since COVID, that it really struck me, and you can see it now, especially playing out in politics and trade. But I'm going to say sentiment is everything. I didn't realise that. I thought, you know, that that things work differently, but I started to see how the media was impacting the economy, right? So you see that around,
very much.
and then you see Donald Trump and how, you know, what he says doesn't mean that is the truth, but what people say and how people feel is actually makes a massive impact on everything you do. And so, you know, and if you're thinking about leading teams and you're thinking about the culture that you create in an organisation, I think sentiment is everything. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's fascinating, isn't it? Facts only go so far, don't they? You know, it's been proved very much so.
If you make people feel that you are winning, that you've got momentum, that you have got, you know, that we have got all the capabilities in the world, that actually creates a change.
Do you know, sorry, you are so right there. I tell you why, I remember pinch points in even my career and times where it's been tricky and really like hard going. And actually it was one person that can make the difference when they walk into that meeting room like, right, let's do it. Let's crack on. And you're right, the winning mentality of we're going to get through this.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I've seen that enough times. I imagine you've probably led on that basis.
Well, you know, you've got to lead from the front, and, you know, being negative is not a good way to run a business. But no, I absolutely have sympathy with that. I guess my own reflection is getting people to work with you rather than for you.
Yeah.
You know, and that's connected to the sentiment thing as well. You know, yeah, it's just been a thing I've tried to pursue, you know, rather than barking orders out, explain why.
Yeah.
You know, so
it actually goes back to your point as well about the insurance industry being a career destination, like, and it's that sentiment thing. If we talk it down, which we all have done for years, it was, you know, for years and years we've said everybody fell into insurance, nobody picked insurance, and you know, it's not everybody's first choice.
Yes.
And we are now changing that narrative completely, and actually the sentiment is everything.
yes, being less humble and realising the value that we actually bring, I think will go a long way.
Protect
to
the
that.
world with it, cement that holds together the bricks of commercial reality or something.
Yeah.
I didn't make that up. That old Lloyd's underwriter. I know, and it's been lodged there to be used at some moment. So.
Jane, we are absolutely thrilled that you were our first guest. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
Fascinating discussion.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Yeah, see you soon.
Okay.
Remember, sentiment is all. Thank you.
Thanks.